All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever and whenever you take in our show. We're so glad you're here. We're a family, kind of. We're a dysfunctional family. I say dysfunctional because of a specific confrontation and conflict that's come to pass. Yeah, it's kind of a big deal, and I will share it with you coming up. That, of course, the voice of Kim McAllister.
Kim, how are you?
Yeah. What's up, Kim?
Good morning.
You're not quite camera ready. Is that what's going on, Kim?
Kim, how are you?
Yeah.
You know, I'm
I don't blame you. That's cool with me. I don't. There's no hurry, girl. No hurry. What up with Tony? Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah. Tony's working.
Thanks, Tony.
He's got like 40 jobs. Give me 3 of the jobs you have. Go ahead. What are they, Tony?
KFI.
Yeah. Angels.
Technically this
You
one.
don't want to admit to the Angels. Okay.
No, not at all. I just,
Okay, yeah. You have KFI, this one. Do you not want to say? It's okay. You don't want to say.
No. There's
Sorry.
that one, and then other company I do.
All right, go back to sleep. All right.
Thanks, Tony.
And then
All right,
another-
nice job. Yeah.
Well, Tony, what angered you?
Four,
All right.
yeah.
Can we get some
Okay.
coffee to Tony's house?
All right,
I
let's
don't
get
drink
him
coffee.
Get him an IV drip of something. All
Yeah.
right, it is. It's great to have everybody here. I particularly like Thursdays for David Katz, the former federal prosecutor, will weigh in on the. Well, there are a few things I'd like him to weigh in on. One of which, and we kind of advertised this up front, is this bizarre case where literally you've got the Supreme Court assistants, the aides at the Supreme Court, the charge d'affaires at the Supreme Court, getting Venmo'd by billionaires, and the cover story is it's for a Christmas party of some kind.
What?
But that was the cover story. We'll give you more on that in the next hour. But yeah, exactly. What the weird. Look, it falls into the category, again, of a completely corrupt court. There is hot and cold running money moving into the hands of particularly the right. I mean, sorry, but that does seem to be, I say sorry, meaning I don't mean to be partisan. We try to call balls and strikes. Obviously, I have a point of view, but I think this is a horribly corrupt court. And, I've always felt that the corruption at the court, prior to these revelations out of ProPublica and this latest one, I've always felt the corruption at the court was a philosophical one, that essentially they reverse engineer decisions. They decide they want to overturn Roe v. Wade, and then they find the case law. In this case of Roe v. Wade, there is no case law, so they literally go back. You read the decision. They go back to, what was it, the 1700s or 1600s with some reference. I mean, it's a bizarre, twisted logic they use to overturn, this existing law, which was settled law, as stated in all their confirmations, and then they get the decision they want, and they change America. I feel as though that's the compromise that I understood the court to already be part of. Now we learn that they're part of an even bigger compromise. And by the way, them being bought and paid for usually was back-channeled. The Leonard Leo, Federalist Society, the long list. You know who does great stuff on this is Sheldon Whitehouse, who will just show you the way dark money completely shapes the judicial system in this country. And so this conservative court really has been the result of that. So I always felt the dark money influenced the decision makers, and then the hand of dark money was the thing that ultimately led to these decisions. But what's happened is you find out that these billionaires, it's not enough that they have essentially super stacked the court. They are corrupting these judges one at a time. And I think there's more evidence of corruption. So I want to get David Katz to weigh in on that. Also, what I think is likely coming in the next few weeks, and that is another indictment of Donald Trump. So I want to get Katz to weigh in on that as well. And if you have any thoughts for David Katz, you have any questions for David Katz, please share them with us. And I will pass them on to Katz, who joins us, as I say, next hour.
Do we not expect billionaires to be smarter than to just Venmo it? I mean, really? Talk about a paper trail. Like, shouldn't it be some clandestine, here's my contribution through an LLC private shell company that has gone through the wherever islands to a secret bank? What, Venmo? Seriously?
I think there is a lot of that you're talking about, the secret money, but there's something else that happens. By the way, clandestine is a ding word. The thing that happens is when you're a billionaire and super rich, I've observed, you start to think that you can do whatever you want. And this just in, you kind of can. So I think that recklessness sort of is what you're talking about. I think that becomes part of the dance they do because they don't have to account for anything. So, but it was definitely carelessness. You're absolutely right.
Venmo is how you pay for the pizza party at your kid's school. It's public transaction. Everyone can see it. What are you thinking?
That is, yeah. Put my credibility glasses on here for a moment to see. These are my darker credibility glasses. Too much work to hide payoffs, says Calvin Wong, the shadow producer of this show. So I'm a billionaire. I do whatever I want. Like crime. Exactly. Thank you, Calvin. That's one of the reasons I like Calvin. We agree. There is a controversy. We are an oligarchy. I think that's true. It's definitely at its, that's from Eric. It's become more naked, that oligarchy, I'd suggest. Oligarchy is a ding word, too. Thank you. The controversy that's developed on the show is sort of a big deal. I'm not used to getting into this with somebody who's a regular viewer and listener. I doubt that he's here today, so we can talk to him about him without him. Sadly, maybe he is here. Oh, I see him in the chat. Actually, he is. Well, it's not a major announcement, I don't think. When I have a throwdown but because I made major announcement mention, I will just mention that it's
a major announcement from the Mark Thompson Show. A major announcement.
I'll mention that it is 2 weeks away. The change in time. This show will start at 11 a.m. Pacific time each day, Monday through Friday, and we'll go to 1 p.m. Pacific time, Monday through Friday. That is beginning August 1st. So please be aware of that. And Nikki wants to go early, so she's going to go 9 to 11 Pacific time in the morning. Then I'll come on at 11 and 11 to 1. Those of you who say you should be on the same channel, blah, 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 it's just not possible. So I'm sorry. I know that there are not a lot of you who have said that, but there are a few of you who said that just to explain. Obviously, we thought of sort of reconstituting the old KGO lineup on its own channel, but it was just too difficult to do. There are just too many different staffs, too many different schedules, it's just way, way hard. So now, yesterday, I guess we are crowdfunded, and many of you are kind enough during the show to send us super stickers and super chats, right? And we try to acknowledge you in real time. Now, I'll tell you, this is one of the things we've wrestled with because we want to continue with the conversation at the same time that we recognize super stickers and super chats. So super stickers and super chats, for those who are new, it's just a little way that you can throw into our virtual tip jar a little something. And really, we're living hand to mouth. So the staff here, Kim, Tony, myself, Albert, we all get a little something, and we have to take that little something and apportion it from the money you give us. So we so appreciate the support. We could not do it with just YouTube dollars. There's not enough. I told you what YouTube gives us. So anyway, that's just the backdrop. Now, when you're nice enough to send us something, we try to call it out. Sometimes it gets into the outfield on us. I don't see them generally because I'm trying to just, run the show and speak, and I'm looking, you can see right now, I can't see what's in the chat. When somebody super chats us, we will the house rule is we'll read their super chat, whatever they want, and then I will respond to it. That is the house rule. Once in a while, someone will super chat us, so you pay for the super chat, whatever it is, you know, a little something. Someone will super chat us, and I won't see it. As I tell you, I don't see most of them. But it's possible that Kim won't see it, or Tony won't see it, or Albert won't see it. So when that happens, we feel bad. And after the fact, we always go, well, I'll try to acknowledge them tomorrow, this sort of thing. So yesterday...
We don't mean
what?
it. It's never a slight on purpose, right?
Of course not. No, that's what I'm saying. It gets in the outfield. It gets away from. We don't see it. So yesterday, apparently there was a super chat from Al Anonymous. Now, Al Anonymous, this just in, not his real name. Al Anonymous is a great supporter of ours. He's in the chat a lot. He makes good points, all the rest. Apparently, he left us a super chat. Let me put my credibility glasses. You have it, Tony? What happened yesterday? Because I think this is a teachable moment, as they say. So Jim Slayton was so great, he left us $9.99 to the KFI folks who put us over 12,000. So many people from KFI came on board.
Really nice of them.
William Geip, we did acknowledge that, $3 super sticker. Gordon Andrews, the $5 super sticker, so cool. And then Al Anonymous, the super chat, said, is Andrew Fracknoy going to be on anytime in the near future? The physics guy. And he left us $5.
Nice.
But we didn't see it, I guess. I mean, I didn't see that super chat.
Yeah.
So we didn't see it. We didn't mention it. And then at the end of the show, Al Anonymous sent us this. Bro totally ignored my super chat, asking about Andrew Fracknoy guest. Sending my Patreon contribution to Nikki's show now.
What?
I know.
He got angry at you.
Right away.
Yeah.
Who knew? Al Anonymous is not like a chill guy. He's a bro. What did he write now? Let me see. Hang on a second. I'll put my credibility glasses on. Sorry, didn't mean to make a stink. It's not you, it's me. He did apologize. Wow.
Okay.
That's pretty cool. That's good. Because it just, I felt bad. And then I thought there was so much attitude, I couldn't understand it. I mean, like let me tell you this. If we on this show, all of us to each other working on the show, had that kind of zero tolerance for F-ups, none of us would be here.
No, it would have been day one over.
I mean, there are F-ups every day, So I do apologize, though, to Al for not seeing that. The truth is, Andy Fracknoy, who I love, will be back on the show probably in the next couple of weeks, But it's funny. He was angry, and he did. Now, didn't you tell me he did pull his? I don't know what he pulled his Patreon. Is that what you told me?
No, I thought I saw a text, and Al, tell me if I'm wrong, on Nikki's show where he said, "Just pulled my Patreon from some rando show and giving it to you guys," which I thought, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And then you realize the rando show is ours.
I think you're the rando. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it happens. Yeah. All right, so Al, welcome back. If you're back, I think he's being sarcastic, right?
Yeah.
Please do not acknowledge the $10 super chat, John. Thank you, John. We love you. Love all super chatters and. Yeah, this is a little inside baseball, but where is Andreas, asks Sandy. And Andreas, I think, is traveling, and he lost his folks in rapid succession. I think in a month's time, he lost both mom and dad. And so I think he is in Greece, I think, I'd heard. So anyway, we're all one big dysfunctional family. Don't understand why you're not using 2 screens. I did this when Zoom teaching, sometimes 3. So I could respond to kids on chat while still watching class on big screen.
He does have 2 screens. They are 2 giant screens.
I have 2 giant screens.
32-inch monitors.
But here's what happens. I have 2 screens up right now. Either I'm speaking to you or I'm watching the screen. I try to do a little bit of both. It's just a bit hard. So it's not a question of whether the information is there. I have multiple screens. I have 1, 2, 3 screens, but I have information on various screens that preclude my ability or just blunt my ability to always see everything that comes in. I can sit here and watch the chat and just, watch the chat while we're talking. I could do that, but it's just not the kind of, I'm not as engaged with the show then. You know what I mean? Anyway.
And I think it was really like, one of those that chat happened to come in at one of these moments where maybe I was paying attention to some breaking news or looking up a picture or writing something, and Albert was, doing something like, trying to get some piece of sound or video up, and you were trying to just talk and be engaged with something. So just all of us dropped that ball at once. So we're sorry, but that happened, and it doesn't usually, but man, yeah, we got thumped by Anonymous.
Yeah, he's apologized now, but just in answer to the kind of the universal thing, I mean, yeah, I try to see as much as I can. You know what I mean?
Al, we love you though. We love you though. Yeah. Don't feel embarrassed. Trust me. Did you hear the chit? It happens.
Yeah, it does. I mean, Kim Kim screws up all the time. Kim screwed up last night.
I did.
Kim screwed up last night. Let me tell you what Kim did last night.
Thanks. Yeah, appreciate that. But I'll say, Al, as we cover my mistakes in the world, that when you're called out, it means you're beloved.
I wouldn't say that, Kim, but all right. I mean, maybe.
Who is having that conversation?
All right, but we do love Al, and Al, don't sweat it, and that is more than enough on the drill down. But welcome back, Al.
The Mark Thompson Show.
The actors in Hollywood may be striking. They look like they have no deal. SAG-AFTRA represents 160,000 performers. They said to their negotiating committee, through their negotiating committee, I guess, they are recommending a strike. They failed in reaching this new contract. They, along with writers, then, would bring Hollywood to a complete halt. It would affect now those things that hadn't been affected by the writers' strike. Meaning game shows, reality shows, those are SAG-AFTRA hosts, right?
Yeah.
And other people. So they would be affected. Something to watch. The other thing I wanted to mention to you is that, and we'll do more on this, and It's the Planet Stupid, which we do on Thursday's News of the Environment. But the Earth has reached the hottest day ever recorded, 4 days in a row now. Even higher temperatures are expected in July and August. And we're in July, and August is coming up. The highest temperature ever recorded by human-made instruments, the average global temperature reached 17.18 degrees Celsius. That's 62.92 degrees Fahrenheit. And again, this is for the whole world. All right. On Wednesday, the record was tied as global temperatures again reached that point, 17.18 degrees, then broken as global temperatures reached 17.23 degrees, that's centigrade, or Celsius, 63.01 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, that's worldwide. Now, what's happening in America is that much of America in the West is experiencing triple-digit temperatures, and temperatures that are literally killing people, and killing more than just people. Heat is the number one weather-related killer in the world. More than 600 people die from heat-related illnesses every year in America. 13 people have died from heat-related illnesses in Texas so far this summer. And it's not only Texas. You've got Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, all experiencing intense heat. And I'm talking about 115, 116 degrees.
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
They also have problems with the electrical grid, as you know, keeping people cool in Texas. And so 3 days in a row, now 4 days in a row, the Earth's hottest days ever recorded. Then, I was going to put this in Stories from the Sky. tornadic activity completely closed down Chicago's O'Hare last night.
That's crazy.
Tony, you got that video? Here's the video or pictures of Chicago's O'Hare, and you can see they had people, and you know, Chicago's O'Hare is one of the busiest airports in the world. They had people so congested and so collected into these common spaces. It was scary. Here it is. Tony's got a bit of it in the tornadoes that were circling and touching down around O'Hare. And this shut down the airport. You can see a Southwest plane in the foreground and the tornado dropping out of the sky in the background. There it is.
Yeah, I mean, ooh.
And Julie is right. Tornadic would be a ding word. Tornado is not. Tornadic is. Very good.
A lot of comments about your shirt today, by the way.
I've gone with the red. It was a last minute thing. I thought I hadn't really repped the merch really in a strong way, so I went with the red.
I like it.
Do you? I don't know. It's a little. It's not. No, thank you. Stan Pollock, CPA. What up, Stan Pollock?
Hey, Stan.
Longtime listener and viewer. In honor of my granddaughter, born today, $25 super sticker.
Congratulations.
Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Yeah. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Stan, that's so cool of you. Thank you, my friend. Stan Pollock, CPA. And Lee Kopp, another stalwart and early adopter of the Mark Thompson Show. In honor of Eileen and my 49th anniversary, wow.
Oh,
we would like to send you all a little something. Wow, big shout out.
Big shout out.
Another big shout out.
Big shout out.
And then one for your anniversary.
Big shout out.
And then thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Happy anniversary, Lee and Eileen.
Yes, happy anniversary.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and
Thank you so much.
thank you so much to all of you who've been so kind to leave a super sticker today. You know, I'd like to bestow upon both Stan and Lee and Eileen something I haven't done in a while. And I do it. All you have to do, Lee and Eileen and Stan, and you can do this in replay as well. You don't actually have to do this live because the spirit and the power of the Mark Thompson Show extends into replay and podcast listeners. And now I'd like to, that's right, I'd like to raise, if I might.
Receive the rod of equity and mercy.
The rod of equity and mercy is...
Receive the rod of equity and mercy.
Bestowed upon Eileen, Lee, and Stan Pollock, CPA.
Receive the rod of equity and mercy.
Yes. Congratulations to all of you, and thank you for being part of our family.
The Mark Thompson Show.
The other thing I will tell you, and we'll get into this in a bigger way, I think, as well, when we get to It's the Planet Stupid, but Farmers Insurance has pulled out of Florida. That's right. You know how insurance companies are pulling out of California because of the fire threat. Now, Farmers Insurance announcing they are pulling out of Florida. 100,000 policyholders are there. They said in a statement that their decision to get out of Florida was a business decision necessary to manage risk exposure in the hurricane-prone state of Florida.
We've seen it here in California, too, with insurance companies saying, you know, you and your wildfires, we're out. Yeah.
National insurers don't have a major presence in Florida. I mean, they only have 100. I mean, it's a lot of people, but it's only 100,000 people relative to the population and those who could possibly get insurance. That's 2% of the state's insurance market. But Florida requires affected policyholders to receive a 120-day notice, and their policies aren't being renewed. That's why we get this information. Over the past 18 months in Florida, 15 home insurers have placed moratoriums on writing new business. 4 carriers have announced plans to voluntarily withdraw from the market, and 7 companies have been declared insolvent. There are 18 Florida residential insurers on the state regulator's watch due to concerns over financial health. In other words, you may be insured in Florida, but your insurance company may not actually be able to pay off on any policies. This is a man-made crisis, said one insurance expert. The industry pushed for and won a number of reforms meant to curb what it saw as abuse, the insurance industry. But so far, it hasn't changed the outlook for insurers, partly because of a flood, no pun intended, of nearly 300,000 lawsuits that the Insurance Information Institute said was filed just before the law took effect. So there's a lawsuit over that 120-day notice thing. That's it. But the takeaway on this is, as Kim says, the same takeaway for Californians, which is that insurers don't want to take the risk, right? Insurers, they want to insure, health insurance companies want to insure healthy people so they never have to pay off. And then when you show up with something, they find all the loopholes to not pay. And these disaster insurance policies want to find people who need disaster insurance. You have to insure your home, as you're well aware. It's part of buying a home.
We're required to insure our
Exactly. You're required by law. And so now they're saying, we insure for disaster. We don't really want to go to those places where there are a lot of disasters.
Sorry, you have too many disasters for us. It's too,
Right. I get the business model. Makes sense. I suppose.
It's like a casino in Vegas, right? When you start winning too much, they kind of throw you out.
That's exactly right. Yes,
I'm sorry,
that's exactly
your wildfire
right.
and hurricane odds are not looking good.
Oh, unreal. Hey, I thought Jefferson Graham normally joins today. Did you not hear? Is he on the road? Is that why?
Oh, yeah, he may be. Also, did we send him a thing? I'll make sure to send him a thing.
Yeah, if you could send him a thing, maybe ask him if he wants to join for a few minutes. Give us word from the road, you know. I have a high-profile hacking, and when I say high-profile, it's within the Biden administration, in the cabinet. There was a cabinet member of Joe Biden's administration hacked by Chinese spies. This is no lie. I'll tell you about that when we return. I've got actually a lot of show to tell you about when we return. I also wanted to mention, coming up, I have a question for you related to rent in California. I don't want to say anything more because I don't want to tip it, but it is a kind of a quiz question, so I will. And then the extortion of a South Bay family. They lose their dog and they confront an extortionist. All of that still to come. Smash the like button like a boss.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Give us a thumbs up. It is free. Thank you for all the ways you support us. We love having you here. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I always need our news theme, Tony. It's never available when I want it. I don't know.
Come on, people.
Hey, which one do you use? Mark Thompson?
Whoever is producing this thing.
Who's Mark Thompson?
The Mark Thompson Show.
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. Let us begin with cocaine at the White House.
What?
What?
It happened. And apparently they don't know. They still don't know. With all the cameras and all the people, they still don't know who put it there. The Secret Service investigation into the White House cocaine incident has ended without identifying a suspect. The agency said testing failed to reveal sufficient DNA or fingerprint evidence, and surveillance camera footage was reviewed but produced no leads. The discovery
Secret
of the
Service, please.
cocaine,
oh my God, what a racket that is.
last week led to a brief partial evacuation of the White House. A lot of Republican lawmakers are saying, what? What do you mean no leads? How can this be? Yeah.
The Republicans will tell you exactly what. Well, we know who it is. It's Hunter. Really?
Maybe not. Maybe it's Don Jr.
Maybe Don Jr. left some behind. Exactly.
It doesn't have to be. I mean, where it was found, I don't think you could say that it was any, family member of the White House.
No, it was in a public space. Yeah. My God, it could have been It could have literally been planted there by somebody who's, I don't know how they would, but I mean, why they would, maybe more. Thank you, Buck. Love you.
We've been following this story out of the Pittsburgh Tree of Life synagogue. That mass shooter could get the death penalty now, is what we know. A grand jury determined Robert Bowers can be sentenced to death. Now, the jury will hear the evidence to decide if he'll face the death penalty or life in prison. Bowers, of course, convicted last month of killing 11 people in the deadliest anti-Semitic attack in U.S. history in 2018. Well, here's some big words. Vladimir Putin has already lost the war in Ukraine. That's what President Biden said in Finland today. He made the assertion, adding he doesn't believe the Russian president can maintain the war for years and that he will eventually decide it's not in Russia's best interest. He added that Ukraine will join NATO once the war comes to an end. And Senate Democrats are pushing the Justice Department now to protect the right of Americans to travel out of state for abortions. A group of Democrats, including Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren, sent a letter to Attorney General Merrick Garland this week. They say they are alarmed by efforts in some states to target abortion providers offering care to out-of-state patients. The group requested a briefing later this month from the Justice Department's Reproductive Health Task Force, which was created following the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. As Mark, as you mentioned, really no end in sight to this heat wave, brutal heat wave, roasting a lot of the southern U.S. In the days ahead, record high temperatures are possible here in California, in Texas, Florida, El Paso, and Miami. The highs have been over 100 degrees for nearly a month. A novel concept in Stockton, where the Unified School District is understaffed by about 5% for teachers. Sherry Jackson, the district's director of recruiting, says that's why they're giving new teachers signing bonuses of between $7,000 and $10,000. The average starting salary between $50,000 and $55,000 a year. There will be hiring events, they say, through July and August. So here's something, kind of a novel way to use robots. There's more grass along highways this year after a record-breaking wet winter. So that means there's more fire danger now that it's all dried out. Well, Fresno City Fire has already responded to 213 freeway grass fires this year. So now they've introduced a remote-controlled mower, making the process of cutting grass more efficient, enabling them to cut grass where larger equipment can't reach. Aha! Robot lawnmowers. It's also keeping firefighters safer by keeping them away from fast-moving traffic on freeway where freeway fires are burning. So, robot mowers to the rescue. That's a good use of technology.
Well, right, I mean, it's a wild idea. Yeah,
just might work.
We've got some grass off the I-5. Send the robot mower. More than 1,000 pounds of meth discovered in a tractor trailer at the U.S.-Mexico border. Let's say it again. 1,000 pounds of meth. That's a lot. Customs and Border Protection found methamphetamine inside the roof of a tractor trailer last week.
It's fantastic.
It was right at the port of entry in Southern California. During the border inspection, officers seized the 138 packages worth almost $4 million. The 46-year-old driver turned over to Homeland Security, and the California Border Protection seized that tractor, the trailer, and the drugs. Sayonara, sucker. There will be no meth.
Sayonara, sucker.
Carried into California. You're out. That's it.
Good day, sir.
Wow.
I mean, come on. You can't pack that much meth and think the drug-sniffing dogs aren't going to sniff it, right?
Yeah, I don't get that. That seemed like, I mean, as I say, it's a wild idea. But I don't see how they thought they were going to get away with it. But
they didn't.
Yeah. Right.
You're out. And lastly, the Santa Monica Police Department here in California is apologizing for blasting classical music at an intersection. Last week, in an effort to deter crime, police installed traffic signals that play classical music, but people who live nearby complained, saying the music was so loud and it made it tough to sleep. I guess the classical music was going on through the night. Police blame the software glitch. They say reset the volume at the highest level possible.
Oh,
that music has now been turned off. They did a certain another thing kind of like that in San Francisco, where I think it was a Safeway store brought out, and they put this little unit in one of the parking spots where it blasted this classical music at all kinds of volumes to keep homeless people from loitering in the parking area.
That's been an effective thing that they've done. They blasted this classical music.
So Santa Monica police saying, my bad, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to play it so loud, people. Just wanted to deter crime. We didn't want to piss you off.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, that's a tough one.
I'm Kim McAllister. This is the Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson.
I've come from regular stock.
I just want to find 11,780.
Did you really just do that? ABC knows that I feel like this. I've told them. It had nothing to do with them.
May the Spirit guide you in wisdom and grace.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
It was great. I loved it.
60% of the time, it works every time.
Can you let him finish, sir?
We are here for you on a Thursday. Great to have you in the mix. Can I quickly acknowledge a couple of people who have drifted through, part of our family? I have my darker credibility glasses on today for maximum effect. Also because I could not find my other glasses. Thank you. It is sort of a familiar dance in my life. Someone commented in... Really? You're going to make me do this myself? Okay, I'll do it myself. Perry Joe Jim Bob, $5 from Eat Cat, Mama Sheba, and Kittens, Socks, Moki, and Kimba. $20 from nice. Perry Joe. Thank you. Yeah. Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Just quickly acknowledging the super chats. I hope you understand super stickers. Want to give them a quick shout out. And Wes, thank you, Wes. Regular
big shout out.
Thank you for the $5. And then Luis with the 5-spot. Mark, are you wearing that shirt in honor of that delicious Why Are You Yelling Red? Perhaps we should all order some. Yes, the Why Are You Yelling Red?
Why are you yelling?
Is Kim is holding it up now. Is from Tenuta Vineyard, Tenuta. They are official. Yes. The official vineyard of the Mark Thompson Show.
Big shout out.
Yeah, and thank you to them. And you can get a Why Are You Yelling red there. And you can also get the white with the, hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson? White. It's a Pinot Grigio. Very beautiful and perfect actually for hot days. I love that. Might even be better than the...
hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
Yeah, that one, that white is really terrific. So anyway, they're our pals. They are, they buy these newscast adjacencies, which is really cool. And we love them out there. Tenuta Winery in the Livermore Valley. And by the way, I think she's the only female vintner in the valley, in Livermore Valley. Yeah, which is pretty cool. So, yeah, Nancy, congratulations to that. So we have a question for you, and do you have the question up on the YouTube chat as well, Tony? No.
Yep, it's up.
Okay.
Thanks, Tony.
So this is a fairly straightforward question. I don't know that it's going to take it's never going to be a big head scratcher. but it's about rent in California. Here is your rent question. Rent is high in San Francisco.
Yeah.
But rent in another city in California is higher than rent in San Francisco for the first time. What city is it? What are the choices, please, Tony?
Thanks, Tony.
Tahoe City, Los Angeles, or San Diego?
Tahoe City, Los Angeles, or San Diego. One of them has higher rent than in San Francisco. Tahoe City, Los Angeles, or San Diego. What is it, Tony?
Thanks,
I
Tony.
love how no one thinks it's LA.
LA rent is pretty high, but I'll give it a second to bake in the chat and figure it out.
A lot of people
not LA, says Trevor in Concord. What's
a lot
that?
of people moved up to Tahoe, like Silicon Valley folks, because they could work remotely during the pandemic.
That's
that
right.
Pushed prices higher in Tahoe, the Tahoe area. Los Angeles, it still costs more than $1 million to buy a house, right? I mean, if the HGTV series are to be believed, it's very expensive there. And San Diego's right on the beach, right? So that's expensive. This is a hard question.
A lot of Tahoe and a lot of San Diego. Not any LA. You're right, Tony. I thought it was Vallejo, says Buck.
No.
Stockton said, now you guys are just Petaluma, says Mackay. Now you guys are just throwing stuff in. So one of the three that I gave you. That's why we gave you those choices.
I'm going to say Los Angeles. It's still the most likely answer.
Los Angeles. So the actual retail price. The answer is San Diego, everybody.
Oh,
that's right.
Okay.
San Diego. If you guess San Diego, you are a winner.
And you get nothing.
And it was split even. Everyone, it was 44% Tahoe City, 44% San Diego. So everyone.
San Diego, for the first time, has surpassed San Francisco for average rental rates. Yeah. San Diego's typical monthly rental rate in June was $3,175.
No.
San Francisco's rent was $3,168. So San Diego leapfrogs San Francisco. I mean, it's a big jump. I mean, it may not seem like it, but this is in February, San Francisco's rents were 29% higher than San Diego's. Okay. And now you see that city, San Diego, has jumped higher than San Francisco. So that city has higher rent than San Francisco. But the highest rent in America is in the Bay Area. And it's not San Francisco. What is it? The highest rent in America is in the Bay Area, and it's not San Francisco.
I mean, you think, okay, Ross or Tiburon, Sausalito, Atherton, but it has to be closer, I think, to Silicon Valley, like San Jose-ish.
San Jose, that's it. Thank you. Yeah. All right. I have news for you of spying and of hacking. And while I give you news of spying and hacking, can you check on our pal Jefferson Graham? I don't know if he's going to join us or not, but I haven't heard from him. I sent him a text. I guess he's not going to. I think he's on the road.
Yeah.
Now, he's on the road, I believe. Not much you can do about it. But But I promised you news of this hack, and so let me tell you about it. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo's email hacked by Chinese cyber spies.
Uh-oh.
U.S. officials say that Raimondo is the only cabinet-level official whose account was compromised in this cyber attack.
What did she click on?
The State Department discovered a vulnerability in Microsoft's cloud last month. The only two executive branch agencies known to have emails breached are the Commerce Department and State Departments. They also targeted a congressional staffer and a human rights advocate, and a think tank was also targeted. They say the espionage campaign has been mitigated. Mitigated is a ding word. 9 U.S. organizations were victimized by this cyber attack, some email accounts compromised at each entity. And Microsoft, again, they control it all. They say that a total of 25 organizations worldwide were hacked in this latest cyber attack. U.S. government safeguards identified an intrusion in Microsoft's cloud security, which affected unclassified systems, according to the National Security Council spokesman Adam Hodges. Officials immediately contacted Microsoft to find the source and vulnerability in their cloud service. We continue to hold the procurement providers of the U.S. government to a high security threshold. Procurement is a ding word. So it was compromised. They say there's an FBI investigation that's ongoing, but the Commerce Secretary's email is now safe and secure. Meanwhile, something is happening in, by the way, I should mention David Katz is coming up in the next hour. We're going to talk about the Supreme Court. And by the way, also on that Supreme Court, I mean, you know, I gave you a whole little run on the Supreme Court at the beginning, just sort of talking about problems with the Supreme Court. David, I think, will tell you it's no big deal, this latest story. But nonetheless, it's,
I would think he would be outraged.
I love it. Kim is taking on David Katz, and it will be a cage match. She's going to bring her chit. I love it. Bring your chit to David Katz. Oh, yeah. All right. I love it. Well, you can talk to him about that. We're also going to talk, as I say, about the Trump coming likely indictment out of Georgia. That will be in August, I think. I wanted to tell you about something that's happening in Seattle because I think it reflects something that's happening in cities around California as we wrestle with the homeless problem. And those who are trying to deal with the homeless problem, they want to, I think, be compassionate, but you also want to have your streets back and you want to have your life back. In Seattle, residents of the Highland Park neighborhood say they are outraged after vagrants living in a homeless encampment set up a blow-up pool. You know, one of those huge swimming pools.
What?
I mean,
yeah.
Homeless people get hot too, right?
I see. Okay, well, so
a little recreation. I mean, you know, what else do they have to look forward to?
Yeah,
blow up the pool, fill her up.
Sure, why not?
Out there. Oh, I mean Well,
that used to be a sidewalk. Yeah, those were the old days. Now it's a pool for us. Yeah. This is an affluent Seattle neighborhood. They are outraged, these residents are, after homeless people set up a swimming pool at their encampment. And here's the other thing. You call the cops, you call the city, and what does the city say?
I'm sorry.
If you guessed the city answering, we can't do anything and we refuse to move it, you can give yourself a ding.
Oh, it's huge.
The median, I know it's not a small thing. The median home, we're showing it to you now. The median home price, it's nice though that finally they're classing up the homeless encampment. Homeowners in this Highland Park area, and again, this homeless encampment is right in the average price, the median price, you should say, is almost $600,000 in this neighborhood. And you can see that there's a senior living facility across from the encampment, and the seniors say that they fear they're going to get shot or robbed by one of these homeless individuals. There might legitimately be some danger to that. They have sofas set up. They have an entire swimming pool.
It's comfy.
We just showed you the pictures. To be fair, the encampment witnessed a recent murder, but officials in the crime-ridden area of Seattle are not removing this swimming pool.
So that's pretty, I mean, how do you afford, I mean, if you're, you can barely know where your next meal is coming from, how do you afford to throw down money for a pool like that? And even if you got it from somebody else, then how do you afford to fill it with water? Where's the hose? Where's that? This all is, I'm confused.
So what do you think? You think it's as though they're trolling the neighborhood, or what do you think?
I don't know. I'm fascinated.
So the seniors are the ones who are really raising a stink.
Yeah.
Because the elderly individuals, they hear gunfire.
Oh.
They say they regularly hear gunfire coming from the encampment, and they keep their curtains closed constantly. It's not safe, one woman said. We want the solutions. We know what the problems are, she said. When you've had the same problem repeatedly in different locations, you know what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Now, as Kim says, and you'll see it if you're watching on YouTube, it's a pretty system. You can Google it and see it also. It's a pretty big swimming pool. And it's not a good look for a city that,
I mean,
is trying to manage a problem.
It's not just one of those plastic turtle pools. What we have here is like an inflatable.
Yeah.
What he's got going here is a situation.
Yeah.
I think it's running a pump as well.
Yeah. I mean, this is
well, it's got to be. You got to have a filtration system.
Come on.
We have here is a situation.
Yeah. Put that right next to the koi pond, and you got yourself a nice
There's a reason that this place is fun.
There you go. That's what's happening in Seattle. Maybe that's a look into the future, San Francisco. I mean, yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
A man is arrested for allegedly extorting a family in Sunnyvale. It's a wild story that Kim pushed to me, I think, originally. Ahmed Rahish Najib arrested after investigators were notified that a family's dog named Norm had escaped and was lost. And then someone contacted the family and said that they had the dog. The suspect demanded money from the family, or else they would never see their dog again. Public safety officers helped the family to set up a fake meeting to exchange the dog for money. See, they're gonna close in, and on the exchange, they're gonna grab the guy.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
Well, it did work. They got him. He was taken into custody, and Norm, the dog, was found safe. Officers reunited him with the family at their home. Najib was booked into Santa Clara County Jail on suspicion of offenses, including extortion and grand theft.
Good. Because what a piece of, human excrement.
Agreed.
I can't believe somebody would do that.
Yeah. This dog napping thing, it's so brutal. We had our dog stolen. So sad. I remember. I'm still heartbroken over it. And it was
your dog was stolen and never given back or found?
The dog was taken. There was a ring of guys who were taking dogs to sell them to labs for.
Oh, no.
Yeah, for experiments. It was horrible. I don't mean to bub everybody out. It was awful. Just awful.
That's awful.
Yeah. Barney was the dog's name. Really sad. So, lock this guy up and throw away the key, as far as I'm concerned. I took that, here, I'll just quickly.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I took that riderless car vehicle ride, as you know. I did it with former producer John Daly, a fabulous producer John Daly. And Daly was the one who really grabbed it and said, hey, do you want to ride with me? Because you got to get on a waiting list to get in them, right? So I said, yeah, it'd be great. And you can see kind of a 1-minute version of the ride if you go to our YouTube channel, The Mark Thompson Show, and you can look under Shorts, and you'll see one of the shorts there is the ride. So this is a big thing, right? The riderless, driverless car and driverless trucks and driverless vehicles in general. If everything was driverless, the number of accidents you'd have would go way down, right? I mean, sadly, though, sadly, meaning sadly, that statistic isn't relevant because not all the cars are driverless and not all the vehicles are driverless. Anyway, the question, and the reason I bring it up, the question as to the future of driverless vehicles is before the California Public Utilities Commission, and they have now delayed the vote on expanding the autonomous vehicles in San Francisco. They were originally going to vote today, but now they say they're not going to vote until August 10th.
There's some pushback for these autonomous vehicles in San Francisco. There's a lot of people that say they get in the way, they just randomly stop, and they've developed this system whereby if you put a cone, like a traffic cone, on the hood of one of these cars, it can just stop it right in its tracks. So there's these protesters that are now trying to hood cone the autonomous vehicles because they don't want them around. So I guess it can be a little controversial.
I don't know if you've driven in the city of San Francisco or Los Angeles or whatever, but there are already people randomly stopping and looking at their phone and the light turns green and they're updating their Facebook page or whatever and they don't see it. I mean, there's a ton of that. Human beings, to me, are far more dangerous than these driverless vehicles. And also this just in, if you started going around putting cones on people's cars with drivers in them,
yeah,
I mean, that's a kind of mayhem you should be arrested for. So I love this idea that we can just F with these robotic cars and do whatever the F we want because we don't like them. And the reality is you could never get away with that crap if somebody was in the car. I mean, you would get into a road rage situation and could end up in a pretty ugly place. Now, we can have a broader conversation about how this is putting people out of work and how it'll be cab drivers out of work. It'll be Uber and Lyft drivers out of work, you could say. And you could even say, and I think this is the big one, that truckers ultimately are the ones who will suffer the most. I mean, there's a robust world of trucking that will be affected. By the way, the worldwide expert we had in logistics is coming back on the show next week, and we can mention this to him. But the question as to whether or not these driverless vehicles should be given the green light, that will be pushed to August 10th. And again, it has to be ruled on officially for the city of San Francisco. The CPUC will make a determination August 10th. And as I say, I think in a way they're holding these vehicles to a higher standard, but essentially you have two big ones. You have Cruise and Waymo, isn't that right, Kim? Those are the two big driverless,
those are the biggies, right?
Autonomous vehicles is what they call them.
Yeah.
And they say that their stats are overwhelmingly good. And I don't know if this is legit, but this is the excuse being used for bumping the ultimate judgment the CPUC is making on autonomous vehicles in San Francisco. They're bumping it to August 10th. They're saying they don't have enough data yet. So, but Waze and Cruise say we've got, Waymo and Cruise, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got data and we've given it to you and it's safe. Overwhelmingly safe is what they say. So
they do say that if a driverless car has been involved in some type of incident, the chances are most likely that it was with a human driver and the human driver was at fault. So it was parked and someone smacked into it, right? That type of thing. So
I'm telling you, human drivers scare me way more than these autonomous vehicles. I mean, it's not even close, just to be honest about it. But there must be huge open issues about liability, says Randy, when it comes to these driverless autonomous vehicles. Yeah, I suppose that's true. And insurance for these driverless cars. Yeah, I think you're probably right. But the great thing about these driverless vehicles is that there will be an ongoing recorded record of what happened. I mean, they have more cameras and more ways to measure what's going on. It's kind of like a driving black box.
Yeah.
So in that way, anyway, the latest on that is there's no ruling on the autonomous vehicles until August 10th. Smash the like button if you would, please. Be so kind.
Smash it with your iron rod.
It costs you nothing and it helps us out. Smash that thumbs up. When we come back, David Katz, we'll get to the coming Trump charges, new charges out of Georgia, and the Supreme Court money Venmo exchange. No big deal, or I know who would have thought? Right,
what?
I know it's crazy. Yeah, exactly.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
All of that still to come. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Oh, on the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. Seriously, you can't make this stuff up, right? The fight to get a child sex trafficking bill passed in California isn't over. The governor stepped in after the bill didn't get enough votes Tuesday in an assembly committee. He says, Governor Gavin Newsom, that he cares deeply about this issue and is working with the state senator who wrote it to see what they can do. Republican lawmakers plan to force a floor vote today on the matter. The bill would make child trafficking a serious felony and increase punishment for those convicted at least 3 times. Trafficking. Another Hollywood strike could be just hours away. Of course, we've been talking about this here on the Mark Thompson Show. It is a union representing about 160,000 actors set a midnight deadline tonight to reach a deal with major studios and streaming services, but that came and went. No agreement. The SAG-AFTRA negotiating committee is recommending a strike, and a vote is expected sometime today. This means members are likely to join the 11,000 plus writers who walked out in May. So actors could be on the picket lines as well. California's 3rd largest reservoir is filling up, but not quite at the pace as the other ones. This is Lake Trinity. It has yet to top 60% of its capacity, and experts say that's because it has a small drainage basin and it takes more than one wet season to raise water levels. But Shasta Lake, the largest in the state, is at 91%. The second biggest, Lake Oroville, is at 98% capacity. So even with Trinity only at nearly 60%, the water storage from all these reservoirs is at 123% of its historic average. That doesn't mean we can waste water. It just means we're in much better shape than we had been.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, progress is being made on the nation's largest dam removal in California. Most of the base gate pillars and walkway have already been removed along the Klamath River. One Native American tribe is worried this will damage their cultural sites. They've been monitoring the work for any artifacts that could be unearthed. The project is expected to be done by September, and then 3 larger dams will be demolished next year to make room for more water and for more fish as well. We talked a little bit about that whole hill bombing incident in San Francisco. Well, San Francisco police now are ready to reveal what really happened at that skateboarding event last weekend. Body camera videos from Dolores Park will be released next week. You know, if they're releasing the body cam videos, it shows the people doing some crazy stuff, right?
It ain't pretty, yeah.
The chief confirmed last night during a protest that started at City Hall and then spilled into the police commission meeting. Many in the group spoke out in anger over the response by officers in riot gear who arrested 32 adults and cited 81 teens. Well, in answer to that, let's go to the video, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see it next week.
I mean, I would have supported arresting everybody. I'm sorry. I'm over this stuff. I mean, these what are the other things they do? Tony, what are those? The side, they take over an intersection.
Sideshow?
Yeah, sideshow. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
In this case, though, it was throwing of firecrackers, bottles, cans, and other items at police officers. So, no.
Yeah, as I say, I mean, I'm over it. I'm over it. I mean, this where you just bring mayhem to certain areas, you show up en masse and forget it.
Oh yeah, the street takeovers, right?
Yeah, the street takeovers. Yeah, they're not skateboarders, as I was saying the other day. We call them skateboarders. It sounds like, oh, they're skateboarders. Isn't that cute? Yeah. No, that's not what they are. They have skateboards, but that's almost incidental.
Yeah, well, I think we're
enough, Kim. I've had enough. I've absolutely had enough. I'm reclaiming every city.
Why are you yelling?
That's enough. It.
Why are you yelling?
No more. Yeah, I think that we're going to be our eyes will be very opened by the release of this body cam footage next week. I don't know why they don't just release it now. They make us wait for it, but okay, whatever.
Well, I mean, it's like a Beyonce album. You first tell everybody it's going to drop, and then it drops.
Oh, is that?
You got to build interest.
We're building anticipation. Is that what's happening here?
Right.
All right. I see what you're doing.
The first ever video from SFPD. It drops Monday.
Oh, and it's not going to be pretty. Let's talk about something that happened in the Oakland area. This grocery store, they're now cleaning up after burglars busted in with a car. They drove right into Market One in Fruitvale Village yesterday, stealing 40 cartons of cigarettes and the cash register too. The owner says they tried to take the ATM, but they couldn't lift it, so they didn't get that. At least 5 men are seen on surveillance video loading up 2 vehicles in less than 20 minutes and then taking off in a Chevy Suburban or a Tahoe and a white Lexus. So they got 40 cartons of cigarettes and the cash register. All right.
Oh, my God.
There was a warning in Southern California about Big Mama. Did you hear about this?
The 15-foot boa, right?
Yeah, Big Mama, they said, watch your cats and your chihuahuas. We've lost our pet snake, Big Mama, and she can eat small creatures. So everyone watch your little animals until we find Big Mama. Well, Big Mama's been found. All right.
All right.
She's been found safe. Big Mama found in a neighbor's backyard in Chatsworth, California. She's fine. So crisis averted. But it leads me to the last story we have here about snakes. Some Florida snake hunters have caught the largest Burmese python ever measured. The 19-foot python caught Monday at the Big Cypress National Preserve. It is now being studied at the Conservancy of Southwest Florida in Naples. The previous record for a Burmese python was 18 feet 10 inches long. That snake was also found in southern Florida back in 2020. These are yet more reasons not to go to Florida. Snake hunter Jake Walleri says it's actually a bit concerning because, in his words, these snakes are getting bigger every year.
Well, they're not.
No. Don't.
There's a reason that this place is fun.
There's the truth is that they're not native to Florida. These are invasive species brought there by people. So now again, the snake you're seeing on the screen now, that was the recovered. Again, not native to Southern California, but they had it. The owners of the snake had it there and lost it. It was in the neighbor's yard, as you say, Kim, and it was just it's crazy that that 15-foot snake. It's a beautiful creature, but it's scary.
Not if it's on the loose in your neighborhood and they're telling you to keep your cats and chihuahuas indoors.
Exactly. Right.
No.
Well, I mean, Big Mama's got to eat. There's a reason she's Big Mama.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. And so if the largest Burmese python is recorded is at 19 feet and Big Mama was at 15,
well, she's got room to grow.
Big Mama has nothing to sneeze at. So, But yeah, they're saying the snakes are getting bigger every year. That freaks me out. I mean, how big are they going to get?
Yeah,
I'm a little freaked out. I don't know about you.
I can tell.
Burmese pythons can get very big.
No.
Well, here's a picture of this 19-foot long snake. Are you ready for this? This is
Kim really likes her snake stuff. I can't even. I see it. Yeah, I see it. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. 19 feet long, getting bigger every year. I'm Kim McAllister. This is the Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah.
There's never been anything like this.
I know. It's very, very impressive, Kim.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shadow Stevens. This is the Mark Thompson Show. Keep it to yourself.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Yeah, great to be with you. Thursdays bring a special conversation to this show. We always look forward to speaking to this guy. He's the former federal prosecutor, and he now works on the defense side of the ball. That's right. He's at the defense table. Great takes on everything regarding the law. We'll ask him about the Supreme Court, Trump, and more. How about it for David Katz, everybody? David, hello, sir. Thank you for being here.
Great to be with you guys, Mark, Kim.
Yeah. So, David, we were talking about it, and I wonder if we can just check off on it quickly. I mean, it looks like it falls into the category of money flowing into the Supreme Court, but how big a deal is the Venmo money that was sent to Supreme Court aides that with the tag Christmas party? Okay, so that's the way it was delineated as such, as a Christmas party contribution. I wonder if you can speak to that. These were sent to, again, to an aide at the Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas aide, I believe.
Well, I think that as significant as some of the scandals with Justice Thomas have been, and also the Alito junket, I think this one is a bit of a filler. This is a bit of a nothing burger, because unless they show that there's a huge amount of money that went in, let's assume that the cost of the Justice Thomas Christmas party ends up being about $150 per former clerk. If each former clerk kicks in $150 by sending a Venmo payment of $150 to the organizer of it, it really is a nothing burger. And I think these are all former Supreme Court clerks for Justice Thomas. Now, that's scary. That includes like Laura Ingraham. That includes the lawyer who said that Trump could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and not only not be prosecuted, but not even be apparently apprehended. So there are some very odd opinions by some of the lawyers for Justice Thomas. But that doesn't change the fact that it is normal to have a Christmas party for ex-former clerks, and to put in the newspaper or online that these are lawyers with business before the Supreme Court. If all it is $150 from each former clerk, and they're all former clerks to Justice Thomas, and they're all people who are going to attend this Christmas party, it really is kind of nothing. And if I could add one more thing, this is a common thing. As I told Laura Ingraham when I met her, amazing, we both clerked for African-American judges in Washington, D.C. And she just rolled her eyes, I guess, because she thought that most of the judges in Washington, D.C. on the federal bench were so different from hers, Clarence Thomas, that it was a bit of a snarky remark, which I didn't mean it to be. But you know where I'm coming from. My judge had a Christmas party, a holiday party every year. It was at his home. He and his family paid for it, and he was not a rich man. But you can't really knock Thomas if he didn't want to pay for it from his family funds. But if he wanted the clerks to put in $150 because they were going to have a lot of eggnog, they were going to have lobster tail, you know, whatever they were going to have. We had the eggnog at the party for Judge Penn. We didn't have the lobster tails, but we didn't put in any money for the party. But you can do it either way. I just don't think that this is much of a matter. I'm not saying that the other ones with Thomas weren't extremely significant, Mark. Taking junkets like he took, having a judicial disclosure form where you have to disclose emoluments, junkets, trips like that, and not putting it down, and Alito not putting down, what it used to be called, Sam Alito. Now people are calling him Salmon Alito because he had to go on that huge trip to Alaska, all paid for by a multi-zillionaire who ended up having business before the U.S. Supreme Court. All that you could say about that is that his business before the U.S. Supreme Court, which was worth over $1 billion to that lawyer who I think went on to be a CEO, his name is Singer. He sued Argentina. It was extremely significant what powers he had to seize assets of Argentina around the world, including in the United States. But the Supreme Court voted 7-1 in his favor. Alito should have recused himself, should have been 6-1. You can say it wouldn't have changed the result. But in terms of needing Supreme Court ethics to have gone ahead and voted on a matter of such critical importance to a donor of a junket, and he said, well, there was just room on the plane. So Mark and Kim, next time you're on a plane, you tell them there's a seat in first class that nobody's using. And you see how quickly they accommodate you in that first class seat, because after all, nobody was using it. That's Alito's story. This is supposed to be one of the smartest people in America. That is a laughable argument to be made by any lawyer, especially by one of supposedly the smartest lawyers in the land. I mean, that's not a good look or a good comment by Alito.
These guys are completely captured and completely corrupt, captured by big money. I'll remind everybody that Harlan Crow, that billionaire conservative donor, paid for these lavish holidays for Justice Thomas, bought Justice Thomas's mother's home, and then paid for Justice Thomas's great nephew's private school education. I mean, this is how completely corrupt these guys are.
Can we go back for a moment to something you said, David Katz, about because the very first sentence in this article out of The Guardian is that several lawyers who have had business before the Supreme Court, including one who successfully argued to end race-conscious admissions at universities, paid money to Thomas's aide via the Venmo. So are what you're saying that all these lawyers that may have had business between the Supreme Court who kicked in $150, they were all former clerks?
Yes, they're all former clerks to Justice Thomas, Kim. And again, if somebody kicked in $20,000 for their share
That's different.
of the party, which was $150 allocable to each one,
Right.
that is a big story. But they seem to be reluctant
Or a
to
big
report
party.
the actual amount. They seem to be reluctant to report the actual amount that was paid in. So that's what I think was going on there. And, you know, I never appeared in front of the judge for whom I'd been a law clerk in Washington, D.C. It was just my choice. I just didn't think that it just didn't make me comfortable. There's 1,000 other federal judges in the country.
Yeah.
You know, I can take cases in front of one of those 999. I didn't like the look. I never talked about it with my judge because the issue never presented itself. The Supreme Court is a little bit different because there's only 9 justices. And, you know, a lot of the people who argue in front of the U.S. Supreme Court, it's such an honor, so hard to be chosen to argue one of those cases. A lot of them are former U.S. Supreme Court clerks. That's just the reality. So it would be a little artificial if Thomas had suddenly said, well, if you've ever clerked for me, you can't argue, because it mean you couldn't argue in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, he could also recuse himself, but, you know, that court's 5-4. If he starts recusing himself because his former clerk is arguing the case, guess what? A smart client would hire someone else. So he would actually be then prejudicing professionally his former clerk. So I don't think there's really any smart way out of this one. I think the scandals by Thomas and Alito, they're rife. There are many of them. We need a code of ethics. Again, I have to add one more thing, guys. Last week, if anyone was listening, you know, we had a little bit of a transmission problem, and some of your people didn't get some of the things that we were talking about. But we talked about this issue, and we had a great question last week, which was, why isn't it a violation of the IRS code? Why isn't it maybe even a criminal tax violation to receive junkets that are worth $1 million and not report them on your return? We're not talking about the judicial disclosure where you have to report what kind of junkets you got and what kind of emoluments and presents you've gotten if you're a sitting judge. All judges have to do it except the justices of the U.S. Supreme Court. We're talking now about just the IRS code, right? Mark or I, you, Kim, receive $100,000 from somebody. They're usually called perks, and you have to report perks in certain circumstances. You can't just take money. You remember this guy who was the treasurer for Trump's organization in New York? Instead of taking $200,000 in salary, which would have been, let's say, a normal salary, he took 100 because he only wanted to report tax on 100. He took another 100 in perks that he never reported, things like private school tuition, Mercedes-Benzes that were rented for him, but were never treated as income. Those perks are taxable. So the great question that we had last week, and that kind of garbled in the transmission, unfortunately, was that how come the IRS, either in an audit or in a criminal investigation, doesn't look into Alito and Thomas for taking these huge trips that were worth so much and not reporting that as income? And the answer is, I've talked to tax lawyers and they say that simply is either it's not reportable, it's not taxable. It's different from the perk situation. And to accept a gift like that, that is not reportable income. If you have a guest on who has a different opinion about that and who's a tax expert, but the tax experts I've spoken to, because I got interested in this question of why the IRS was not investigating this in an audit capacity or in a criminal investigation of Alito and Thomas, that was the answer that I got, that it's actually not a taxable event to accept a junket like that. I guess the idea is that the guy who gets the perk, you can say he should have had a $200,000 salary, but he took 100 in perks, so not to report it. Of course, Alito and Thomas weren't entitled to any salary. They weren't taking the junket in lieu of salary or in lieu of some other benefit. And we had this great story that apparently he's a soul brother. Who knew that this guy, Harlan Crow, was such a soul brother and BFF of Thomas? They asked this guy, what do you and Thomas talk about? You spend this time together in the Adirondacks. You go on these junkets. What do you guys talk about? What do you have in common? He said, we're about the same age. We're about the same age, Mark. So there it is. They're about the same age. Gives you
come from regular stock.
Yeah, right.
I prefer the Walmart parking lots.
Yeah. That's a really cool, interesting, and distinction, and a great way to button that issue out on the tax thing. It totally makes sense. In one case, it's in lieu of compensation, and in the other case, it's just a trip you were invited on, or or a gift you received. I mean, I guess. By the way, just on the gift you received, if Harlan Crow bought Clarence Thomas a new Mercedes, or Ginny Thomas a new Mercedes, whatever, would that be something that would have to be declared? It would be, right?
I think the analysis would be that I think that would have to be declared by Thomas, but I don't want to opine on that. This much I'm sure of. If he would have to just pay normal tax on a Crow. They often say that the person, the person can't say I don't have to pay tax on it. So let's say it was $100,000 or the $1 million junket. That would be income. The fact that he chose to give it away, it would still be Harlan Crow's income. Of course, I'm sure he has great accountants. I would love to see the taxes of Harlan Crow, wouldn't you? And what's remarkable is that the Senate, which has a Democratic majority and has the power to investigate, they could put on hearings that would be just as extensive as anything that the House Republicans are putting on in the House. The Senate is controlled by the Democrats. Why they haven't called Harlan Crow, I think they may have tried to. Why they don't call this guy Singer, it's just, to me, shameful that they haven't had that. There's an issue if you try to call a U.S. Supreme Court justice. But
right. Well, Alito declined. Right. He said thanks, but no thanks. Right. To them.
That would be a constitutional issue, which would go to the U.S. Supreme Court to decide. That would probably be decided 6-3 that Alito cannot be subpoenaed. But they subpoena people from the executive branch. There's nothing wrong with our checks and balances that the Congress, one branch, cannot subpoena and call before it members of the executive branch. So there's really no reason why they couldn't call members of the judicial branch. I think it's more deference, really, than law. But whether it's law, Mark, is going to be decided 6-3. Probably Gorsuch writing the opinion.
I'd come from regular stock.
Yeah, that's very funny. Karen D says, David, would it be kosher if we just set up a GoFundMe for SCOTUS to get the laws passed that we want? It seems that money works for them. So what do you think? Yeah, there you go. That's it. By the way, there are progressive, Mark. There are progressive organizations. They just tend to get outspent by these super right-wing ones, and we have chapter and verse since Citizens United, especially, of how this dark money finds its way to U.S. Supreme Court justices. I mean, it's really shameful. They have such a wonderful job. There's not one smart lawyer in law school who doesn't dream of being a U.S. Supreme Court justice. It's just one of those things, like once you really crunch a home run, you think, wow, I should be doing this in the major leagues. It's so getting to the major leagues. It's so wonderful. These people really are part of the history of the nation, and that they chase money the way they do. I mean, everybody needs money to live on, but these guys make a lot of money to live on. They do these seminars that they get paid for. Kennedy and some of the others used to have these wonderful trips every summer. They have 3 months off in the summer. People yell at the school teachers. Why don't they yell at the Supreme Court justices who take 3 months off every year? They go to Europe. They get paid great money. They stay in 5-star hotels. They give a little seminar. You remember Alito went to Rome and he got a big applause because, from the point of view of critics, he'd done the bidding of the Catholic Church, and he wanted to have a big victory lap in Rome, being, getting these hoorays from, remember people said about JFK, they didn't want to vote for a Catholic for president because he wouldn't work for the United States, he'd work for the Pope. Well, all I'm saying is that Alito went and got roundly applauded, right, by all of these super high Catholics in Rome. I thought that was a terrible look. And then to attack leaders who had disagreed with his abortion decision, which, of course, 50 years of precedent disagreed with the abortion decision in Dobbs. But we're getting far afield, aren't we? Well, yeah, but I mean, it is worth noting, and as just to underscore that point, when I always hear about, well, don't they worry about the blowback that they're getting on Roe? The blowback is offset for them by what David Katz is talking about, which is the victory lap they're taking, finally overturning Roe. And part of that victory lap is, visiting the one of the epicenters of Catholicism, which is Rome. and taking that victory lap. Now, I want to get to Trump before I let you go here, and the Trump stuff is related to, I think, two things. The Florida case and the attempt on the part of Trump attorneys. They filed paperwork Monday to try to put this off until after the election. And then I want to circle back around to the Georgia case and whether that indictment may be imminent, coming probably in August. Let's start with Florida and the attempt on the part of Trump's lawyers to delay things.
Well, just from the point of view of playing the pieces in federal criminal court as well as you can, my motto that not left, not right, just right, not wrong. What would you do if you wanted to make the right moves as Trump's criminal defense attorney in that case? And they are making so far the right moves. They don't want to get pinned down on a date. They don't want the judge and the public to say, you chose January. You said you'd be ready by January. Now, you were for it before you were against it. You said you could be ready. So they're not going to pick a date. Now, under the Speedy Trial Act legislation that's binding in federal court, the federal judge has to pick a date within 70 days. If the judge does not pick a date within 70 days, the judge has to find good cause for the excludable time and exclude a concrete period of time. So they could say, well, look, you're going to be in trial for 30 days. So I'm excluding that 30 days because your counsel is unavailable. And therefore, I'm not going to set December 7th. I'm going to set January 7th because there's 30 days. You guys are going to need 3 months, I can see already, to litigate these national security items that are going to be relevant in Trump's case. And that's going to take 90 days. So I'm not going to set December 7th. I'm going to set March 7th, those 90 days. So she will set a date certain. And the reason that in most cases you tell the judge, okay, I don't really want March 7th. I want April or May. The judge says, why do you want April or May? And then if you don't say anything, you just say, well, there's no date. It's really not going to work. Why don't you set it later, judge? The judge is going to say, thank you. I just heard from you. You didn't give me any real reason or any concrete date. So I'm going to set the March 7th. That's how it normally works. But in their situation, this case is so high profile, I think that they're going to always resist setting a date. They're always going to say, we're not ready. She'll set a date for them. But one thing I do want to talk about real quick, and I haven't really heard it in other media. I haven't listened to all of them. But I think there's a real possibility, and you just look at this strategically, that I think the special counsel may ask to sever this Nauta fellow. This Nauta fellow, this aide, this valet to Trump, he doesn't seem to need nearly as much time as Trump. I don't think it's ultimately going to be that relevant in his case, how much they're national security, what aspects of them are national security. His case is pretty much, okay, you could see the labels on them. You knew that the red and the gold labels that said top secret probably designated the document was top secret. And you saw the box, and the box was labeled this way and that way. And then you move the box, and then they have surveillance tape of you moving the box. And then you held an interview after they knew that. And they said, do you know anything about these boxes got moved? And you said no. And you said that, and that's the false statement that you made. So, and the reason that I say that, Mark, is that I think the government has the power to make that motion, and I think that the judge ought to grant it. And if Judge Cannon, picked by Trump to be a judge, federal judge, if she doesn't grant it, then I think that the whole nation will look at it and say, well, I think that the normal federal judge would have granted it. There's no reason that his case shouldn't get to trial earlier. Now, if he has his trial earlier, he's very likely, from the evidence I've seen so far, to be found guilty. And then the presumption changes. The presumption that you should be out on bail changes once the jury has come back and said guilty. So he then had the uphill battle to stay out on bail. And the same is true after his sentencing. He thinks, I think it's pretty logical, Mark, he thinks, you know what, I'm never going to get found guilty in this case before after the 2024 election. And I have at least 50-50 chance of getting a pardon. And if I don't, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. This makes him not a smart calculator, right? To make that same kind of thinking about it, Mark, because if he is going to go to trial, let's say December 1st, and the jury comes back guilty December 15th, right? And then he's facing a motion by the government to remand him so he can start serving, because he's going to get at least a year in jail for something like that. My God. I mean, how could you give him less time than that? I do these cases, for a living as a criminal defense attorney. And I would certainly tell him, wait a second, with the stakes of this, lying to the FBI in such an important case, you're going to get at least a year, a couple of years in prison on that, Mr. Valet, Mr. Aide. And if he would start serving that time, January, February of next year, he might suddenly change his calculus and realize that there are some reasons to cooperate in this case, that he doesn't have a get out of jail free card, that 50-50 is going to be played for him January 2025. He's looking at going to jail for at least a year or more before then. That might change his whole thinking. And one last thing I want to say is that at some point, if that were actually to happen, he might fire his lawyers and say, well, I'm not happy with my lawyers. This isn't going well. I need a new lawyer. And guess what? I need a 6-month year delay to my new lawyers to get up to speed on this case. I think a normal federal judge faced with this situation would have somebody either in the public defender's office or what we call a panel attorney appointed by the court to say, you know what, I want you to get totally up to speed on Nauda's case. So if Nauda does come in and say, I can't have a fair trial because I don't like these lawyers, I want a new lawyer, I can't afford these lawyers, Trump won't pay for my lawyers, she could say, well, guess what? There's someone in the public defender's office. There's a very distinguished attorney that I have had track your case. They can't read the secret stuff, but they can read everything that's publicly disclosed in the case, everything that's in the file. And so that lawyer will come in and that lawyer can be ready. And what do you think? And the lawyer will say, it's going to take me forever. And she's going to say, no, you have a month. You have a month to get ready. We're going to try this case. You just got rid of your lawyers, Mr. Nauda, because Trump won't pay him anymore, whatever your story is, on January 1st. Okay, you're going to go to trial with this new lawyer that I've had keep up to speed on your case on February 15th. That's how a normal federal judge would not to get played, right? To be the judge, to take charge in a way that's totally legal and constitutional.
But this isn't a normal judge in this case, is it, David?
She'll have a chance to prove that she learned something from being struck down twice unanimously, including by 2 Trump judges by the 11th Circuit. She'll have a chance to learn that that was an aberration, that she wasn't quite getting it right. But now she understands that she has to make rulings that are fair and impartial, and that the whole nation and the 11th Circuit above her are watching, because if they're not, the government has a right to appeal many of these things. You know, we as defense attorneys complain that we have to wait until the end of the whole case, what we call the final judgment. And the final judgment rule generally makes us wait until the whole case is over and then complain about all the things that we say were errors and that the judge did wrong that prejudiced our client. But the government has special privileges that it can appeal a lot of these rulings. Now, that will delay things, it's true. But again, most of the big calls are not as to Nauda, they're as to Trump. And Trump, take my word for it, okay? I'm risking my whole Katz on this. Trump's case will not go to trial down there in the Southern District of Florida before this judge in Fort Pierce. It will not happen before the 2024 election. Will not happen.
No, and this is I think the great sort of loud clarion call you've made over and over on this case, and you've kind of shown your math. It makes sense. But I like this new twist that you had, which is that Nauda, and it makes total sense, will be broken out. So Nauda will not enjoy the same delay to which you referred in this Trump document case. His part of the document case actually may be click-clacking along at a different pace. That's really interesting. And Nauda, I think, is unflippable. I don't know if you agree. I mean, there's no way I can know, but just based on, his profile, he seems like, he's going to, my guy Trump, all the way.
Prison is a great concentrator of the mind. I had a sister who was never, ever going to inform on her sister. This is years ago. And I told her there's no sister privilege. There's a husband-wife privilege, and there's a lawyer-client privilege, but there's no sister privilege. She was never going to tell her sister. She said, I'll go to contempt. I'll take my toothbrush. So she got held in contempt. She took her toothbrush. And like 6 days later, she said to me, if my sister is good for it, I guess she's good for it. Prison's great concentrator of the mind, and I think it would be for Nauda. It's just the reality.
Yeah, that's wild. David, love that you joined us. Thank you for making time. You can see him on Twitter at David Katz Law. You can see him at a defense table near you, now working for the defense.
It's so hot in LA. I took my jacket off today. I'm not doing my Jim Jordan imitation.
Thanks, David Katz. How about it, everybody? Yeah, right on, David.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Oh, yeah. He's the best, isn't he? Love our David Katz. By the way, those of you who follow, Jefferson Graham says he'll be back August 1st. He's on his, he's making his run. with his iPhone camera, and it's there on his photo walks thing. So if you have thoughts about David Katz, you want me to push on any questions you might have, you can send them to me, and I will push them. It's themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. Anything you want to say at all, please feel free to push it my way. themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. Kim's News. And then we've got a strong It's the Planet Stupid to finish the show. Mark Thompson Show.
I've told you it's never easy being in this business.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yes, on the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. Let's talk about the military. A defense spending bill may come down to negotiations between the Republican-controlled House and the Democratic-controlled Senate. Hardline Republican lawmakers are trying to include amendments that would overturn several Pentagon policies, as well as reduce or block aid to Ukraine. Senate Democrats would likely pass their own version of the spending bill if the House approves the amendments. The Federal Trade Commission investigating the company that created ChatGPT. Yeah, OpenAI. Well, the FTC now reviewing OpenAI company records on its handling of personal data. The company, or the commission rather, is trying to determine the potential to give users inaccurate information. The first ever over-the-counter birth control pill is finally getting the government green light. It's called O-Pill. It is the hormone-based O-Pill. It's sold without a prescription by a company called Perrigo, and the FDA is clearing the way. The company won't start shipping O-Pill until early next year, and there will be no age restriction on sales. The New York governor, Kathy Hochul, called this an historic step forward at a time when states across the country are attempting to roll back reproductive rights. This is a big deal because until now, you've had to have a doctor's prescription to get birth control pills.
Yeah, they're having to push back in different ways, aren't they?
Yeah, they sure are. While watching a women's tennis match on TV, that is kind of believed to be the catalyst that sparked this prison fight or stabbing of a former sports doctor in prison. Yeah. NBC News reports Larry Nassar was stabbed by an inmate multiple times after making a remark about wanting to see girls play in the Wimbledon tournament. Nassar, who suffered a collapsed lung from the stabbing, is serving a decades-long sentence for sexually assaulting female athletes related to gymnastics. So I guess they're in the common room, the TV's on, and he makes this offhanded comment about watching girls play tennis. And that's all it takes for somebody to come out and say, and stab multiple times. And
wow, it's really, I didn't know that tennis thing was such a flashpoint in prison.
Apparently it is. I mean, maybe they were just waiting for him to open his mouth. I don't know.
Yeah, it might have been. You're saying the fix was in ahead of time.
Yeah.
Wow.
So credit card interest rates remain historically high despite inflation cooling last month. Credit card interest rates now average 20%, the highest since bank rates started surveying and tracking the numbers back in 1985. That is highway robbery. The average credit card
this
borrower,
should be illegal. This is an absolute, it's usurious is what this is, these rates.
Exactly
usurious
right.
is a ding word.
Yeah.
And it is outrageous that you don't, and this is where you need regulation. I am so sick of hearing we're going to get the burdensome regulations, get rid of them. No. These banking institutions need to be regulated. You can see, we just had the story yesterday of B of A and all the fake accounts, and they open accounts, you don't even know it. The same thing happened with Wells Fargo. And now look at this in plain sight. They are bleeding you. This is a country where people are on average $400 to $600 away from not being able to meet whatever emergency expenditure might face them. And yet they're having to pay 20% on a credit card. Outrageous. You could cut that in half and they'll still be making money. They're giving away money and then they're charging us 20% on it. It's outrageous. It's wrong. And it ought to be illegal.
Why are you yelling?
So there you go.
He's yelling because he's exactly right. wild. 20%. The average credit card borrower has an outstanding balance of more than $5,700. So how do you expect to get out from underneath that kind of debt load if you're being charged 20% on top of that average of $5,700 that you owe on all of your credit cards?
Thank you.
And impossible.
Chris is saying these are short-term loans. That's what they are. Credit cards are short-term loans. But they're not ending up short-term loans. And one of the reasons they're not ending up short-term loans, Chris, is because of these usurious rates. You charge me 20%. You want it to be a short-term loan? How the hell am I going to get out from under that loan? It just doesn't, it's just not right. You could still make, as I say, a lot of money, and you could half those numbers. You don't have to charge 20, 30%. You could make it 15, 10%, and there's still plenty of profits. These companies, last thing I'll say, these credit card companies make record profits year after year.
Bravo. And you could take all the dings for that. All of them. Okay, so let's move on to Kevin Spacey, because actor Kevin Spacey denies the sexual assault charges against him and says he was just flirting. What? The prosecution rested yesterday in a London courtroom where Spacey
I don't think you should apologize for how you feel.
Yeah, he was just getting it out there, how he felt. He was flirty.
He stands accused of sexual assault. So how you say I was just flirting versus sexual assault, I don't know. But after nearly 2 weeks of hearing accusations against him, the Oscar-winning actor took to the witness stand today, claimed many of the allegations and the alleged incidents never even happened. So
he's got to be good on the witness stand, though. He's a great actor.
He probably
I'd like to see that witness stand testimony from Kevin Spacey. Yes. Your Honor, I was only flirting.
Oh, God.
It's an affront to all that is holy, my lord. He's being tried, I think, in England, isn't he?
Yeah,
he
is. London.
Yeah.
Matter
they
of
call
fact.
themselves my lord in court there.
Do they still do that in England?
I think they do a lot of weird stuff in court. They still wear those wigs. You know those white wigs? Yes, they still do. So I'm guessing my lord is still in there, but maybe not.
Well, my lord, somebody else in court, but not in London, here in California. Los Angeles City Councilman Curran Price made his first court appearance in his criminal case.
He's going to be in court for a while.
Councilman
this
Curran,
guy is hip deep in corruption.
He's accused of theft by embezzlement, perjury, conflict of interest for allegedly voting on projects involving developers who were tied to his wife's consulting firm, then keeping the connection quiet. Shh, don't say anything. Price will remain free on his own recognizance, and he's scheduled to return to court in late August for arraignment. Price he maintains his innocence and has represented neighborhoods in South LA and Exposition Park since 2013.
Here is the sad part of this guy who you're seeing on screen has been a great advocate for people who need advocacy, for parts of the city of Los Angeles that don't get any kind of real rep. His background as an activist, as a civil rights activist, as an advocate, as I say, is a good one. But it would appear, based on these charges, that he is really a corrupt dude. So sad.
Which is unfortunate because, as you said, representing people in an area that, they need someone to be able to stand up for them. And also, he's building a reputation, right, for this whole area. And then to have this happen kind of brings everybody down. So let's talk about Amazon Prime Day. A lot of people shopping on Amazon Prime. Did you log in? Did you get your Prime Day items?
Well, I had knocked down a little purchase. It was I felt almost obligated to because, but Jefferson Graham tells you that there are not that many great deals on tech stuff he's talking about. But I don't know that some of them look pretty good.
Well, you're not alone because Amazon saw its largest sales day ever during its 2-day Prime Day sales event. The online retail giant announcing its Prime members bought more than 375 million items and saved more than $2.5 billion across the July 11th and 12th sale. Amazon said the first day of the event was the biggest sales day in its history. It added that Prime members save more money than any other Prime Day event. Nobody can resist a sale. Adobe Analytics reported the average money spent on an order during the event jumped nearly $2 from last year. So
wow.
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah. Except for last year where there was something like it, I guess. But
and everywhere you clicked, every website you looked at was like Prime sale. Here's the best deals on Prime Day, as if it was some type of news story. Can't get away from it.
There is nothing in our history that quite compares to this.
It's true, though. You're right. The completely concocted day, concocted by Amazon, was picked up by the media, and they started telling you, here are the best deals on Prime and blah, blah. And you're right. And then it becomes something that develops its own momentum,
it's all paid for content. I mean, it's all sponsored content, but it looks like a real news story, right?
Yeah.
We've never seen anything like it before.
Yeah. All right.
And then you think, as you're looking at the stuff, gosh, I better go save money. I better take advantage of this deal on crap that you didn't need in the first place. So, Amazon Prime Day. Whoop-de-whoop-de. I'm Kim McAllister. This is The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, I'm very unhappy with everything I've heard today on your show.
Sorry to hear that. Well, we are glad you are here. All of you who are still here. Wearing my dark credibility glasses. Those of you listening on a podcast don't realize these are very strong in the credibility department. So strong with the black rims. Sometimes I don't wear them because I worry that it gives me too much credibility. People take me too seriously. They don't realize that there's
credibility
a fun.
Is strong.
Yeah. But I, nonetheless, I donned them today. I'm wearing a red Mark Thompson Show tee, and I believe it's available at getmarkmerch.com. But I know that everything around me that you see pretty much is available at getmarkmerch.com. Of course, the Tenuta wine. It does once in a while. I lose track of all the stuff around me. The tote bag is a really great item. Just because I know everybody's doing that Amazon shopping, you may lose track of the great stuff at getmarkmerch.com.
Yeah.
But the tote bag's a winner. That's the hoodie. You want to get it for the fall season. And, of course, the mugs and the glasses, they're all quite impressive indeed.
Covet the throw pillow to go.
No, the throw
online.
pillow is such a good item. I do have it behind me. You see it there. And, the pot holder. Tony's got the setup now. We've got the show mug, of course, is a go-to thing. The tumbler I have, you can see it on my right, and there it is. Tony's got the tumbler is a big,
nice.
hot or cold beverages on the tumbler, which is what's really nice. And, of course, the hydration system and all those things. It's sort of just fun. We've got stickers and all kinds of cool stuff. That is the Mark Advanced Hydration System item. And that, we've had nothing but happy customers with that. The Mark Advanced Hydration System. Grab one. Then, of course, there's the pom-pom beanie, the regular beanie. The fancy.
I don't think anyone needs one of those right now.
Yeah, the beanies are probably,
The long sleeve T-shirt there too.
I love the long sleeve tees. Yeah, I don't know how we didn't plan to do anything on this, but we just as long as you've got it up, it's.
Hey, how did we come up with the logo, the little red, talking dots square?
Well, Kim, this is a very good question, and I'll answer it now.
Kim, how are you?
The logo for the show is something that I worked really hard on, and I worked on it with an artist, and I wanted something that I didn't know whether we wanted something that sort of had a broadcasty feel. Like I looked at like antennas that had various. So that was something I looked at. Headphones, I looked at that. Mm-hmm. Where all these different kinds of artistic takes on those things.
Sure.
But then I thought. I liked the idea of when you're about to say something, those three dots that you see when, you're composing a text message. And I thought, what if there's a way that we could do that with our logos? I like the red and black. Mm-hmm. So that's why I use red, black, and white in our logo. And so we played with that, and this is the logo we came up with. So I liked it. Yeah, I like it too. And I had somebody at iHeartRadio who's a marketing guy said, "Hey man, who did your logo? That's like one of the best logos I've seen for a podcast." I said, "Wow, that's a guy." And that guy really.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, we did work hard on it though. It wasn't like a quick thing.
Yeah.
I really wanted it to be right. So so thanks for noticing.
Yeah.
On Thursdays, we like to welcome in Belinda, who is an eco-journalist with It's the Planet Stupid, News of the Environment. She continues in New Zealand this week, so we press on without her.
The planet Earth.
Some call me nature.
I am very passionate about the planet.
A living, breathing planet capable of sustaining whatever life forms we see fit to deposit on it.
Spock, judging by the pollution content of the atmosphere, I believe we have arrived.
It's the planet stupid. No. It's the planet stupid.
Well, the news ain't great, everybody. Scientists say they found a site that marks a new chapter in Earth's history. They've identified the geological site that they say best reflects a proposed new epoch called the Anthropocene epoch.
You say epoch? Because I say epic. Do I get it wrong?
Yeah, you got it wrong.
Oh.
Epic is E-P-I-C. This is epoch, E-P-O-C-H. I don't take away points, though, on the show. So I can tell by the way you say, that you don't believe me because you don't believe anything I say.
No,
and you like to challenge everything I say. So go ahead, look it up. Yeah, go ahead and
I'm already
Google
it
it.
up.
Google
I
it.
do believe
All right.
you.
Yeah, okay. Let's stop while Kim challenges Daddy on this.
That's okay.
All right.
Carry on.
Did you find it?
I'm looking it up now.
E-P-O-C-H.
Epic. Epic. I think it's epic. According to Merriam-Webster, it's epic.
Tony, if she's right about this, I will...
I've never heard anyone say epoch before.
That's the only way I've ever heard it, so I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Tony, I'll need you to put it on screen.
Epic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's not quite...
Epic.
Epic. Yeah.
Hang on a second.
Epic. I mean,
how to pronounce epoch in English.
Criticize you or anything. We want to do that.
Epic.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is going to drive me nuts.
Epoch.
Oh, I'm using
what
the
do you
British.
English?
I'm using the
English
British.
Epoch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Epoch.
Okay. Well, it is Belinda's segment, so I guess we
Epic.
can.
Yeah.
Epic.
I feel bad because I was so firm in my belief that
Epoch.
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 Well, I was educated, as you were aware, overseas, in part.
Epoch.
Yes.
All right.
It was the
Anyway.
Educational epoch.
Epoch.
Oh, I'm terribly. Tony, if I need that as a drop.
Epoch.
I don't know how I'm going to use it, but I will.
Epoch.
Every time I'm wrong about something, I'm just going to play that.
Epoch.
As a reminder of this conversation.
Epic. Epic.
It's not quite epic.
Epic.
It's epic.
Epic.
Go ahead, play it, Tony. Is that what you've got there?
System time. Oh, and you've heard me say epoch, yeah? Because that's the way the Americans say it, but you have to know that the British say it differently as epoch.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, I'll then, under protest, I will continue and call it...
Call it what you want. I just, for my own editation, wanted to make sure I had it right.
It refers to a period of time, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
It's like the Ice Age would be an epoch.
An epic.
Of, I'd say epoch. Kim would say epic. This is the Anthropocene period. The term Anthropocene has been around. It's been around. In fact, it was first proposed in 2000, the year 2000, to talk about how profoundly human activity has altered the world. And it's around college campuses. It's been used in academia, in many papers, many books. When it's 8 billion people all having an impact on the planet, there's bound to be a repercussion, said Professor at the Geography, Geology, and Environmental School at the University of Leicester. Do you say Leicester or do you say Leicester, Kim?
I don't normally say it at all, actually.
Okay. He's the chair of the Anthropocene Working Group.
Okay.
We've moved into this new Earth state, and that should be defined by a new geological epoch. So this week, scientists have announced a geological site, the Crawford Lake in Ontario, Canada. This best captures the geological impact of the Anthropocene age. They essentially look at the area around this lake, and they can break down the planet's history into various eras and ages. The largest chunk of time, I believe, is an eon. Not to get too, and this is already way into the weeds, but what we're seeing now is a period of time completely influenced by the presence of human beings, right?
So what is it, like trash in between, rocks or something? Plastic debris?
They see in this place different geological chapters marked here. Mm-hmm. And I guess they can look at different places on Earth and see them as essentially directly reflective of this age that we're in. So for this Anthropocene age, there is sediment that's cored from the bed of a lake that reveals geochemical traces of nuclear bomb tests, specifically plutonium, which is a radioactive element. It's across the world in coral reefs, ice cores, peat bogs, they all have it. And there you see just pictures of some of these cores.
Yeah.
And they look at this core and they can see the power of human presence. The shape of the lake restricts the mixing of the water column. So the bottom of the lake is completely isolated from the rest of the planet, except for what gently sinks to the bottom, apparently. As a result, the presence of plutonium in that environment gives you a stark indicator of when humanity became this dominant force. That's why they can say we can look at this age and see the power of human beings.
That's fascinating and also sad.
Yeah, it's certainly true when it comes to the environment as far as species are concerned, right? The extinction of millions of species directly at the hands of development on the part of human beings. All of this helps define this Anthropocene age. And finally, I'll just mention this. I know we're running right on time, but it'll be in a minute or two over. The thing that's happening this week is big.
Yeah.
Floods, fires, deadly heat. And it's suggested that, look, these are the warning bells sounding that this is a planet on the brink. It's happening in India and Japan. In Vermont, they got 2 months of rain in just 2 days. Extreme flooding, as I mentioned, in India and Japan. Scorching heat, Texas, Florida, Spain, China. Severe heat waves building in Phoenix, the Southwest. This is beyond extreme. These weather events and climate events are showing up in unprecedented ways. Wildfires are still burning in Canada. Dangerous smoke has moved into the U.S., as you know. This is caused by climate change, says scientists, and it will continue to intensify as the planet warms. Research shows that human greenhouse gas emissions, particularly from burning fossil fuels, have raised Earth's temperature by about 2.2 degrees Fahrenheit above the pre-industrial levels. Unless humanity radically transforms the way people travel, generate energy, and produce food, the global average temperature is on track to increase by more than 3 degrees Celsius. That's 5.4 degrees Fahrenheit. And that will unleash catastrophes that will make this year's disasters seem mild, they say. This is not the new normal, says Friederike Otto, a climate scientist at Imperial College in London. We don't know what the new normal is. The new normal will be what it is once we do stop burning fossil fuels, and we are nowhere near doing that. It's a sad fact, but this is real, and there's been no radical change in the way we do any of the things they've mentioned. Yeah. The way we consume food, the way we generate energy, etc. Did you have something, Kim?
Oh, no, just looking at what Tony's saying is delivering a heat index of 113. Hard to keep up with hydration. You know, a lot of people struggling out there.
Oh, yeah. And the hurricanes and tropical weather systems are becoming more fearsome as the world is hotter. The world itself, the planet, struggles to balance heat energy. That's all it is, right? It's energy.
Yeah.
And so those tropical weather systems get stronger because that's heat energy transference, right, from sea surface to atmosphere. And we're just making it worse by dumping more CO2 into the atmosphere, says John. Sadly, it's true. But this is a particularly important week from the standpoint of making this an inflection moment. And yet I feel like there might be more inflection moments to come. It's the Planet Stupid for today.
More. It's the Planet Stupid.
No. It's the Planet Stupid.
Next time, only on the Mark Thompson Show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
We are wrapping up. You know, I was going to mention I want to start a new segment, believe it or not. Starting a new segment on the show. It's kind of exciting, and it involves you, the audience. I think I'm going to have to wait until tomorrow to tell you about it. But we'll get a chance for you to interact with us, and I'm excited about this segment and about announcing it, but I'm going to wait till tomorrow to announce it. Yeah. So, Belinda will be back next week, and thank you for your patience with me doing It's the Planet Stupid. So I am...
Did you really just do that?
No, I did. Now, my question to you, Tony, is there anything else I need to do? You're the keeper of the stuff that needs to be kept.
Thanks, Tony.
No?
We are good. We're caught up on all supers.
I want to thank everybody for supporting us. We are crowdfunded. I mentioned it in passing. Thank you. Nothing left behind. I will tell you that we're crowdfunded, as I say, and you can find more information about our crowdfunding and how to support us at themarkthompsonshow.com. The Mark Thompson Show. You can click Patreon or PayPal, and if you haven't already, you can join our community of supporters. Thank you very much. Tomorrow, we've lined up, as usual, great guests. Jim Avila will be here to talk about, we mentioned it in Kim's news. It is actually a very big deal on Capitol Hill. The defense budget is being held up by a couple of very interesting things. Some of it is real right-wing, alt-right stuff related to abortion and related to reproductive rights that is involved with federal dollars in the military being used to subsidize. I'll just keep it in kind of that general category for now. But the other thing is the war in Ukraine. There is hold up on those funds and appropriations for defense associated with that. And the hard right party, that is the GOP, and the hardest right in that party essentially seizing control. So McCarthy is trying to ride herd over that. We'll talk to Jim Avila about that. It's Florida news tomorrow, Friday Fabulous Florida. Albert will be here. John Daly will be here. We'll get that all organized for you as well. And Michael Snyder, I think the new Mission Impossible movie, there's definitely, I think it's going to be a pretty strong...
Supposedly very good reviews for it.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about it.
Looks good. Looks like it's a movie.
And for all of you who want the old theme back on the way out, I'll give it to you today. There's some controversy if you're new. This is the music that plays as we say goodbye every day. There's an insurgent new youth movement here to bring up sort of more upbeat music. But for now, I'm going to go classic today. Yeah. I'm glad we could get our family back together. I felt like we started with a little acrimony in the morning, with a question as to, we had a thing and we got it all squared away, but now we're in good shape. That epoch thing is really, I'm going to have, I want that as a drop, Tony, the epoch thing. Right.
Epoch, like Tupac.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
You say epic, I say epoch. All right.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
Nikki's going down right now, the Nikki Maduro channel. Till tomorrow. Bye-bye.